Welcome to Ignite Intimacy, a podcast exploring intimacy, romantic relationships, sexuality, and everything that relates to these hot topics. We're going in. Are you ready? This is your host, Laura Aisha. Let's do this. Hello, Ignite Intimacy community. This is your host, Miss Laura Aisha, and I am here with a guest joining us all the way from East Africa, Nairobi, Kenya. What is happening, Nikki Faye? How's it going over there?
Well, hello. Everything is great my way. I am loving being in Nairobi, exploring and sharing my adventures with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I recently we have a mutual friend, and I was telling him about the podcast, and he said, "Oh, you should connect with my friend Nikki Faye. She's traveling. She left her corporate job and she's traveling the world and living in Africa. And I bet she's got some great dating stories to tell." So it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds like my kind of lady.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So so basically, just for our audience today, maybe some of you don't know this about me, but like I am obsessed with world travel. I'm like, one of my biggest dreams is to travel the world and live all over the world. And so it is so inspiring when I meet people like Nikki Faye and actually see that they're creating, lifestyle, living around the globe, working it out, discovering career opportunities and making their own businesses and programs and, creating their own lifestyle so that they can travel and be free and live and, explore the world while having the money to do so. So big up yourself, Nikki Faye. Love that you're on this path, and I can't wait for you to share more about that with our audience. So we're going to certainly talk about the expat lifestyle, and we'll tie that into like dating and romantic relationships when you're on the move like Nikki Faye is, and then also dating across cultures and some of the things that Nikki Faye has experienced on her journey in the areas of dating and romance and relationship. So Nikki Faye, thank you again for being here with us. It's morning here in New York. It's probably evening time there in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, it's late afternoon, early evening.
Great. And would you give us share with us a little bit about the environment that you're in? Like, are you in more of a city neighborhood? Are you in more of a residential neighborhood? Like, what are the sights, sounds, smells that you experience?
Well, here I am in a city neighborhood. I'm staying in an area called Westlands in Nairobi, and it's more of a modern vibe. So there's not very many animals, but if you go about maybe 5 minutes from my house, if you're just walking down the street, you will have a monkey on you and possibly grab your food.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting experience, but lots of fun. I'm always excited when I see a monkey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it reminds me of being in Bali and like, you go into the monkey forest in Ubud and like the monkeys will jump on you, grab your food. It's a bit of a takeover in the monkey forest. But and what is the vegetation like? Is it a lot of palm trees or other types of trees?
You know what? I've never actually, I see it every day, so I don't pay so much attention to it, but there's lots of trees, lots and lots of trees, and some really beautiful trees too. There's one tree I actually have been stalking. I'm not sure the name of it, but the leaves are purple.
Wow.
And so when they fall, it looks like a lavender party. I'm like, oh,
wow.
There. They have some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trees. And it's like you're living in a forest because there's so many trees. But
Amazing.
It's very beautiful. I love it.
Amazing. And it's more tropical there.
It is. It is very much so.
Okay. Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm just like living vicariously through you right now. I'm like aching to get to Africa. So it's fun to live through you for the moment. So I'd love for you to share, your journey with our audience, just give us an insight into your life, like what you were doing before you started traveling, and then what caused you to take this leap of faith and leave your corporate career and go out into the world to be a nomad and an expat.
Yes, yes, yes. I've been working in entertainment since I was about 19 years old. I won't tell you how many years because I don't want you to do the math. But for many, many years, I worked in entertainment. And then I just kind of reached a crossroads in my life where I realized life was too short to be trying to run off once a year to live a vacation kind of life for that maybe 1 or 2 weeks when I could make this life an actual lifestyle for myself. So, with any job, they might give you maybe 2 to 4 weeks off. And I tried to like really crunch in as much vacation time as I could in that 2 weeks. I would take a flight to Japan with that 2 week vacation. And, you can only take about a week and a half of it at a time. But I would do all these things and I would notice I'm running around, rushing, 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 trying to see this, trying to see that. And at a certain point, it just wasn't enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so, but I was at my happiest when I was traveling as opposed to when I was at the job doing the normal 9 to 5 thing. And so one day I kind of reached a crossroads in my life and I said, you know what? I just want to do what makes me happy in my life. And that thing for me just so happened to be travel. So I decided to just leave my entertainment job behind and I started a life of travel.
That's amazing. And so, but was it as simple as that? I mean, was it just, or was there something more substantial that was going on in your life that led you to say, you know what, life's too short. Like, I got to get out and explore the world. Or was it just like a simple, like, I want to travel the world. I'm going to quit my job and go.
Well, I felt that way, for a long time, but I didn't have the guts enough to do it, because you're like, oh my God, like I have this, kind of security blanket and it's very tough to leave that security blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the one thing that actually changed for me is that my mom passed away.
Oh,
And
wow.
so she passed away at age 57. And I realized when that happened, life is just too short. You're not promised tomorrow. And I had another friend pass away who was 34. So I just
Wow.
decided that I wanted to take my life and live it to the fullest because I don't get many days. I don't know how many days I have, but for every day that I have, I want to live it to the fullest. So that was the real reason why I decided to just drop everything because, everyone kind of wants to live the dream lifestyle where they're traveling and just enjoying their lives. But it is difficult to make that move. But, once something like that happens to you, it does change you. And so it changed me in a way to where I was able to embrace my desires and my dreams instead of just keeping them just that as dreams and desires.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Well, I can imagine having those two experiences, two people very close to you passing away at young ages. And it's like, it's a wake up call. It's like,
Mhm.
whoa, okay, hello. Like, am I going to spend the next 20 years at this 9 to 5 and grinding it out? Or like, do I want to, and for some people that works. That's what they choose. And for some people it's like the adventure is calling. And so going out into the world it's certainly not for the faint of heart. And it's also like a grand and glorious adventure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's not for everyone. It's, because it's not always perfect and you're not once you're traveling full time, you're not on vacation anymore. This is a lifestyle. So you do have good days, you have bad days, like anything else. But what I can say is that my best days when I was working in my corporate job are not nearly as wonderful as the bad days that I have living the lifestyle of my dreams.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Well, and so who is this woman who helped to change the trajectory of your life from one conversation?
This woman, like I promise, I only met this lady once. I was in the Bahamas with my family and I was a little girl. But this woman told me that essentially in a nutshell that she had had a lot of trouble over her life and she wanted to make sure that trouble didn't fall upon me. And so she wanted to warn me at a young age that, I could fall into a trap of life or I could live life to the best of my abilities. And so I thought about that for my entire life. Like I never forgot about this lady. I wish I could find her
Mm.
to this day. But I've always thought about that, like the traps that, kind of befell her in her life and, what things I needed to do in my life to avoid those traps of, mediocrity or, living a life that you don't like or that you hate.
Hmm.
I've always been on a quest to make sure whatever I was doing were things that would make me happy and things that would, when I got to a place where I reached the end of my life, where I can say, you know what, I lived the best life that I could live. And so that's what I learned from her, just to really, take my life into my own hands and live the best life that I can
That's
with what I have.
amazing. Yeah. Well, it's interesting how we meet people along the way who just help to guide and shape us. And, even from being a young girl and going to a place like the Bahamas and, being in that island environment and you've got like this mystical experience with this woman who's like, listen, take life and live it. And yeah, it's so special. And so obviously our podcast is about sex, intimacy, and romance and all of the things that go along with, these topics. And so what I'm curious about is like, would you mind sharing a little bit about like who you were in love and romance before your trip? And then what has opened up for you since traveling, since beginning this worldwide adventure?
So dating and, these new relationships are very new to me now because up until November of last year, I was in a relationship.
Mm.
So, but once the floodgates open, oh my gosh, it's it's so exciting to be in a different country all the time and, exploring and dating and, kind of seeing who's out there, what is dating like in another country, because it's drastically different in each place I found. And so I use different methods of, finding folks to date and just hanging out. And it's actually a great way to get to know the city and kind of the real part of the city because you're going out with locals. They're telling you, how they grew up and how they live life, and you see beyond just the tourism piece when you're traveling.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
nice to do because it just, it gives you this new opportunity to explore not only dating and relationships, but a new way to explore each and every city and country you arrive in.
That's amazing. And so when you left, were you in a relationship or had you met someone once you started traveling that you were in more of a longer term relationship with?
I was already in a relationship when I left, but when I left, it was just something I had to do for myself. And, we had the conversation like, listen, I need to do this for me. And he was on board and everything worked out. But as time goes by, it's tough. You're living in a different country from someone else. And, we kind of decided just to go our separate ways. And, I was a little, devastated at first, but, after I started dating, I'm like, oh my God, like this is, this is
Mm,
great. Just
yeah.
being able to have this experience, meeting all these people and, really getting to know them intimately and who they are, what their homes look like, what do they eat, how do they cook,
Hmm.
these experiences were very invaluable for me. And I love it now. I really enjoy it. I'm open to being in a solid long-term relationship now. But before I was like, no, I am just really enjoying this. It was just really so good. Just, meeting the dynamic people that I've met, having the experiences, because some of the experiences are just like back home and others are just completely different. But just being able to experience this spectrum, it's just so much fun. I can't lie about it. Like
That's
I want
cool.
to say like, oh,
Well,
that's terrible. We really should do that. But oh my God, it's so much fun.
okay, yeah. So I want to get some details. I want to get into the nitty gritty here. But first, tell us which countries, since you left, how many years have you been traveling?
For about 3 years now.
Okay. And so since you've left, which countries have you been to?
Oh wow. I have been to, oh my God, over 30 countries
Wow.
just in the past 3 years. Yes. It's been a lot. So when people ask me, I'm like, "Oh, let me think." But I have been to about 10 African countries. I have been to about maybe 10 European countries. I've also been to Colombia, where I was for an extended period, also to Aruba, to Guatemala, to Belize, Mexico. I've gone to so many places.
That's
It's just
amazing.
been such a great ride. So
Yeah, well,
many places.
so what I want to know is like, what are the differences in dating from, Mexico to Central America to the Caribbean and then to Africa and Europe? Like, bring us through some of the discoveries that you made along the way. Both like the fun discoveries, the strange discoveries, the like not PC discoveries.
Oh my.
I know
Oh
you
my
got the
goodness.
goods, girl. I know you got the
Yeah,
goods.
Well, I mean, I have learned so much from dating around the globe. I have found that, in certain places, they love Black women, like Italy, for example. Like when I am in Italy, I'm queen, you know? So, I mean, my Tinder, I always say my Tinder is popping.
Love
So, in
it.
certain places, my Tinder is popping. Like in Africa, my Tinder is popping. In Italy, actually, in most European countries that I
Mm,
visited, but especially in Italy. I mean, like, there's a line in Italy that they love, love, love Black women. So I'm always very excited and happy to be in Italy. And also the same with Africa. They love their Black American women. So,
mm,
it's always so much fun. The place where I've had the biggest cultural challenge is in Africa. You would think we were more alike, but we're not. And because I grew up in America, we're just so different. And I find myself complaining a lot. And of
yeah.
course, complaining in relationships doesn't really work out. Um,
For
but we're just so
anyone.
different. Yeah, but the way we do everything is just so different. And, for example, even the food we eat, like they still think we eat McDonald's every day. And I'm just like, I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat Pizza Hut. I don't eat KFC. These places are great. But I just, try to have a healthier lifestyle. But they think like,
Hmm.
oh, let me impress her and take her to, Pizza Hut or, KFC. And KFC is like, if you're really, really wealthy, if you can go to KFC. So they're like, oh my God, I'm taking you on a date to KFC. And I'm like, no,
You're like,
you
please
know?
don't, please.
Yes. Because honestly, I prefer local foods. I'm like, I can eat American foods any day, but I love to have the local cuisine.
Of
But just
course.
the way they try to impress you in different countries is very different. In Italy, they're taking you to like the high end restaurants because, they want you to, think very highly of them. So it's been drastically different. I think the most non PC thing, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but the most non PC thing that I have learned, I should not be saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because you asked me. So you've heard of this? Okay, how R rated can I go here? I don't
I
want
mean,
to
you can go as
be in
R-rated as
trouble.
you want. We're listed
Okay.
as explicit on iTunes, so yeah, you can give us the goods, bring it to us.
Okay, got it. Okay, so there's this notion of mandingo. Like you've heard this term, right?
Yes.
Mandingo. And so when you think mandingo, it's like the African mandingo, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, that is so not true. Like, I'm not sure. I've been to 10 African countries. I haven't seen this African Mandingo yet. Like, being honest, like, I have not seen this person yet. So, what I've been saying to all my friends, I'm like, Black Americans, they're the real Mandingos because it does not live in Africa. It is really in Black America. But that's my R rated thing, and I'm done.
Well, okay, so you've got to clarify what you're exactly speaking about.
Everyone's heard of this African Mandingo, right? And it's African Mandingo, it refers to penis size.
Yes.
So I guess people feel like, Black men have like, very large penises. But they think it came from, African Mandingo, because Africans, they have these large penises, and it's just not true. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
true. More African Mandingo than people who are actually on the continent of Africa.
That's
So
amazing.
yes,
Yeah, I'm always
if you want an African Mandingo, just stay in America.
well, it's interesting because I'm so curious about like, yeah, what, I mean, I guess it's just, biology. What makes someone's, you know, penis a certain size or a certain way, or, like I'd really be interested in knowing more about that whole process because,
I know.
it's interesting to me. And like, and there are so many different styles of
Absolutely.
of penis out there that it just I've actually talked with a friend of mine who has a very successful podcast, and he wrote a very well-known book on sex and biology and humanity, and he's like, I've always wanted to do an episode like the different penis types, and I was like, oh my god, can I please do that episode with you?
Hilarious, yeah.
So well, and so like what about as far as like different customs or ways that you're approached or treated in dating from Europe to Africa to Central America? Like what are some of the differences in dating across cultures?
I think generally it's the same. I've been on, I think people across global lines just want to impress you, men want to impress you. The only issues I have found is just being an American and being in countries like Colombia or being in some
Mm.
places in Africa. Roles are reversed because of who they think we are, because they feel like we're very wealthy because we come from America. A lot of times, like we're on a date and the check comes, and they push it over towards you.
Ah,
So yeah, because they're like, you're a rich American, you can take care of it. And so I have come across that on many occasions when traveling through South America and Africa, some African countries. But, for the most part, I've been treated very well, even in African countries in Colombia, where, they'll take whatever they have and they'll, use it to make sure you're going to have a good time or they can impress you. So I've had some very good experiences, but I have had some experiences where, they kind of, really want that green card, or they want someone to take care of them. So I have run across that, but it hasn't been very often. So my experience in dating have just really been really good. It's just been really wonderful just meeting so many amazing people.
that's great. That's great. And have you had any like frightening experiences or experiences where you had to really hold your ground and take a stand for yourself and, what you were open to or not open to?
Not really, only in my head, really. Because there was one
Mm-hmm.
incident where I was on a date and got really sick, and the guy gave me some medication, and I got really, really sick, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is trying to poison me and do whatever he wants to do. So I'm into sex or something. But it ended up not being that. It's just that I got really sick because I took it on an empty stomach. He ended up being great. But I haven't really had any scary experiences. I try to, when I am, meeting guys online or via the apps, I try to be very careful when it comes to those people and try to know something, about them and see who they are before, I'm going out, and it's always a public place. Like I rarely go to someone's house. I never go on a first date, but it's very difficult to get me to go to someone's place. So I like the security of, okay, if we're going to go to someone's place, it's going to be my place where there's, some sort of security for me and I feel comfortable. But
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had
Yeah.
any real emergencies.
Cool. That's good. We'll give thanks for that. And then like what about just having actually like having a relationship, like a longer term relationship when you're traveling the globe, going from country to country? How do you create that? How is that possible?
Well, for my first 2 years, I was in a relationship, and it was really good because it was a really good relationship because we had been together for so long. So I never had to worry about things that, say, if it were a new relationship or I had just met this person traveling or something like that, I didn't have to worry about the same things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's once you build up trust, over some time, it's easy. And so even for both of us, because, we knew what we expected from one another and we kind of stayed true to that. So that was actually a really good experience for me. After that relationship, I did have a very short relationship, which is about 6 months. And since we had just met, it's sort of difficult entering into a long distance relationship, and not just long distance across, state lines, but country lines, it was even more difficult. So that relationship was actually an open relationship
Mm,
because, we just met and, things were just different for us. But actually, it was one of my better relationships. We were just open and honest about everything.
that's
We would
great.
travel together. He would meet me. He traveled a lot for work, so he would be like, "Hey, I'm going to be in India. Meet me in India." And so it was brand new every single time we met. So it was
Mm,
actually really beautiful. And it wasn't until I left, to come to Africa where I was like, okay, this probably won't work because you won't be coming to Africa. And, but for that 6 months, it was just really great. So after that, I've been thinking about like maybe this, concept of open relationship really works.
yeah, yeah. Well, we've talked about open relationship, the podcast a bunch, and I've seen people do open relationships really well and just be really intentional and open and honest and like integrous in their communication, and then I've also seen it where it falls apart and people aren't being open and transparent. And so, and also it's like I see that it could create wealth of just like freedom and deeper intimacy. So it's something that I've always been curious about, just like, you know, just the question of like, do I want one partner and, focus on that relationship, or would I prefer to have primary partner and then the ability to see other people, and same for them, or, have multiple partners, have like a couple of boyfriends. So that's been something
I,
that, yeah.
I think it's just trying it and see what works for you. I mean, I had
Mm-hmm.
never done it until I actually did it. And I really enjoyed it because there's a level of honesty that comes with it that is required for it to work. And I
Yeah.
enjoy that level of honesty. And even in previous relationships, I've always been like, a guy's girl. So I've always had that. Guys who I've dated have always kind of had a bit of transparency with me because I'm kind of that girl who, I've hung around the boys, my entire life and I know how they are, I know how they think.
Mm.
So they always feel comfortable with me to talk to me about everything. And because I really enjoy that, it makes it more pleasant because I lived in Colombia for a while and, Colombia is literally like, I hate to call this, but the sex capital of the world. People think cocaine is big. It's not, it's sex. But so I've
Mm.
seen tons of husbands, boyfriends, fiance, come there and just the different lives they live when their spouses aren't present. And for me, I'm like one of those girls who I just want to know. Like it doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal breaker for me. I just want to know what's happening. I want you to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. I don't want you to have a completely different life around your friends versus the lifestyle you have around me. Like I want to really know who you are. And
Yeah.
that includes every part of your life and not just the PC part you want me to save. So the
Yeah.
open relationship for me was absolutely perfect, but it was already along the lines of, relationships I had already had.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like it got to a point where it was like you're looking for something new.
Well, I can't say I was, it kind of just happened, because we were living in different countries and we had just met. It wasn't like we had known each other for years, like
Mm.
our previous relationship. We had just met. So it's like, hey, we're going to go for 3 and 4 months, not seeing each other. How does that work? And no one's cheating here, So we just decided, like, we'll just make our relationship what works for us. And we wanted to be together, but, because of our schedules and our lifestyles, it was just hard to have committed monogamous relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
we just decided the open relationship was best for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and do you find that you meet most people through dating apps, or do you kind of just meet people on the fly?
A little bit of both. I meet people through apps a lot, but I also meet people, say, at a bar. That's a lot of fun. I mean, it's easier on the app because a lot of people probably think I'm just out hanging out all the time because I'm traveling full time, but I'm not. I'm working a lot. So I'm a writer, so I'm writing a lot and things like that. So I don't always have a chance to get out and, have that face to face contact with people. So the apps are miraculous when it comes to my life. So, being able to just, look on the app and find someone and say, okay, I only have 2 hours tomorrow night, but yes, I can hang out with someone and to meet someone as opposed to spending that 2 hours trying to find somebody at a bar and see if you like them and then planning something for another day. It's just very convenient for me. So mostly I date through the apps.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say it's very convenient for lots of people.
Yes.
It's interesting. I was having dinner with a dear, dear friend of mine in New York. And I said, of course, we're talking about dating and all of that. And I was like, so, I mean, like, how's dating? Like, are you seeing anyone? He's like, no, but nothing serious. It's like, I live in New York, like, there's just such a plethora of, like every style, vibe, size, shape, like, there's just so much variety. Like, I'm just so not interested in committing to anything serious right now. And I was like, look, I am not mad at you. Okay. Like, I totally get it. And I can imagine it is like a total playground. So, and it is a playground for me too, but for some reason I see it differently for men with women. And yes, it's cool. I haven't used dating apps yet. I haven't explored that whole thing. I mostly meet people just on the fly. And yeah, I'm curious if I'll ever venture over to the dating app thing. I'm certainly open. Well, we'll see. We'll see. That's to be continued. So,
well, the beauty of the apps is that you come across people who you normally would not come across in your everyday life. So that's the beauty of it. So let's try it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective. So, okay, so Nikki Faye, the Wanderer, I want to make sure that, our audience knows where to find you online. You also have a book coming out in about a month. So just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I am a travel journalist, blogger. You can find me on NikkiFayeTheWanderer.com. And also I have a book being released. The name of it is How I Traveled the World Solo with $2 in my bank account. True story.
Nice. I love it. And so that book is coming out in a month. Is that going to be a digital book? Is it online or is it a print book?
It will be digital. It will be available on my website. It's actually a free ebook. So you can go to my website and download it around November 1st.
Great. And what is your website again?
It is NikkiFayeTheWanderer.com. It is NikkiFaye TheWanderer.com.
Great. Okay. So NikkiFayeTheWanderer.com. And then where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, Nikki Faye the Wanderer on Instagram, and all the other social channels, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. I am NF the Wanderer. So NF for Nikki Faye. NF the Wanderer.
Great.
All social channels.
Okay, cool. So Instagram, Nikki Faye the Wanderer, and then on Facebook, Twitter, etc. NF the Wanderer. Awesome. It has been so great to chat with you. You're living my dream life, traveling the world. I'm just like totally have the energy of Africa in my being right now, just thinking of you there in Nairobi. And please say hello to the motherland for us. And we're so grateful to have you and for your insights on traveling the globe and dating and, dating across cultures and countries.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Ignite Intimacy community, you heard it here. If you have questions about dating internationally, traveling the world with $2 in your bank account, leaving your corporate job, etc., definitely check out Nikki Faye the Wanderer, NikkiFayeTheWanderer.com. And if you have any questions about this episode and you want to contact us directly, just give us a shout out. hello@igniteintimacy.com. We love you so much. We're so grateful that you tune in again and again to check out the hot content on Ignite Intimacy. So big love, lots of blessings, and stay blessed. And we will see you on the next one. Ciao for now. Thanks for tuning in to another conversation on the Ignite Intimacy podcast hotline. We love that you choose to spend your time with us. Check us out at igniteintimacy.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. It helps more people know about us. We love to hear from you. You can email us with questions, comments, or suggestions to hello@igniteintimacy.com. And tell your friends. Music was arranged by Jason Pfaff and Mike Corey. And this podcast is produced by yours truly, Laura Aisha. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, let your light shine bright and ignite your intimacy.